Good morning. It is a little bit before 9 o'clock and we are definitely in summer, I can say, because the temperatures are now well beyond 30. Right now it's some 17 degrees and it will rise to 35 certainly, and it is much hotter in the sun. The sun that is already high on the sky up there. And I am here in front of our Miyawaki forest, and I want to show you a little bit around how this right now looks like. The soil moisture sensors are saying that here in this strip that you see, we have 15%. And this is the next one that will be irrigated now. I have to say it doesn't really look like 15% soil moisture, because it does look pretty green. The sensor is there where I'm now zooming in. So there you can see it. And the sensor looks there, is there in the green part. And it is reporting 15%. So here we do have a lot of things growing that were there before, the seeds, or where we put them by planting. And this is the sector that I will now prepare for irrigation. Once the sun is high up enough and we have enough solar power, then we can put water here. And speaking about that, so I frequently get this comment, you should water during the night. The evaporation is a big issue. And some people also talk about the damage that water on leaves can do and all that. So yeah, I hear you. But now let's try to understand this. So we are completely off-grid. We do not have any utilities. We do not get power from outside, nor do we get water from outside, or anything else. So that means we have power during the day. And during the night, we run off of batteries, and of course they have limited capacity. And you won't run a pump that takes 1,000 watt through the night on batteries. Sure, you can do this if you have a lot of battery, but we don't. So that's not an option at the moment. The alternative would be to use a gas-powered generator and run that through the night as well. Just to save a little bit on water that might evaporate during the day. But then the water comes out of a pond, and that pond is open. The whole surface sits in the sun, and of course there's evaporation. We do not take the water out of a deep well and then let it evaporate. We have it sitting on the surface already, and it is evaporating there. So we're merely distributing the water from one place to another. And those evaporation losses that might be there, we can completely forget about them. Because if we do not irrigate, the pond will evaporate anyway. And if we irrigate, then the water does something to help these plants. So what in other cases might be an issue, here it definitely is not an issue. Because that's the way it is, and it's a good way, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I'll compare this to, let's say, I'm following someone there on YouTube myself. So let's say a row crop farmer in Nebraska. They have those pivots, and they have deep wells, and they have powerful diesel engine, and they run 24 hours for irrigation. So that's a totally different thing. That is way far beyond of what we are doing here, or can even do. So this is not comparable. We are trying to establish a forest here, and the irrigation is there to help these young plants along a little bit. And once the trees have reached the height of these wobblers that you see, then the irrigation will be taken out. And then the forest should be self-sustainable and regulate its own moisture. So this is a temporary thing. And we also have a limitation what the flow of our pump allows us to do. So with those 2,300 liters per hour, we can only irrigate so many sectors. And therefore, we cannot plant more than we can irrigate. Another thing that we need to consider here. And with that being said, I am now walking over there to open the valve. It's not automated yet. There are still a few pieces missing. And then, in maybe an hour or so, I have enough power that I can turn on the pump, and then this sector here will be irrigated. Likely for 3 hours. I watch the moisture sensor, and when the sensor tells me that we are at some 20-something%, probably 21 it will be, then I turn it off. Or one of us will then open the valve for the next sector, which is the one adjacent to it, the sector 2. Because there the moisture level is also a little bit low, below 20. So we try to keep it around 20. This here is a bit unusual. I just see it. So we have had no rainfall for a long time now, and here, a little bit in the shade, this animal waterer that we have sitting here still has water. And it's not connected, so it just sits there. Sorry. So there in the shade the evaporation is minimal, and the horses are not passing through here on a regular basis. They keep in the upper part, so nobody uses that water, and it's not very good water either by now, but it keeps sitting there. That's interesting. And you can also see that without any irrigation, these plants here around the tree and in its shade, they are still keeping green. And the same goes for the other places. Here and there the horses do come here in order to find some green grass, because they try to get to the green stuff first. Of course, you can see the effect of the heat now and the lack of rain. So this is now finishing its cycle all over. And then this will turn brown as well. So the plants are now at the end of their annual cycle. And there are not a lot of plants around that will continue to grow throughout the summer. The Bermuda grass is an exception. And of course the trees, they have a water source down below. But this is completely normal that this will fall dry on the surface. Only those who have managed to make those deep roots, they will be able to stay green, unless an animal comes and grazes them off. And that is why ours looks like this way. And elsewhere they are either making hay now. This is the new thing. They have removed the animals and are now making hay in order to have an income. And it's the same effect as grazing. They take away the biomass. So this is how the beginning of summer now looks like here. And no, we will not cut anything here. We don't have the tool either, so there is no risk that we might change our mind. We don't have that. And the horses, they will feed on whatever they find. There's enough forage around. It might not be the best thing, but it keeps them around. And we do have some of these alfalfa pellets that we can also give them, especially the blind Sakahawea. But I'm standing here in zone A and she is not here. So that's that. What we might be doing, we do have a tool to cut, but of course it's the BCS tractor, and that is not the tool to cut huge areas. But we might use it to make a little bit of hay, so to say, for Sakahawea, instead of buying a whole truckload, because we have no need for that many straw now that we don't have the animals. So that might be something that we could be doing, because I can't bring Sakahawaya to an unknown area and expect her not to run against things, and she will most definitely run against fence posts because she does not know that they exist. So this is not an option. What I can show you now that I just walked here, so here you can see some Bermuda grass that is coming up. Of course, this is a part of the driveway, but it's only to get there to this place. And you can see that there is Bermuda grass. Nobody grazes this off unless the 3 horses come here and then they will nibble on it. But it's perfectly fine. The Bermuda grass kind of knows about that and is still able to establish itself here. Of course, with some water here, it would establish itself sooner. But like I said, this is kind of the driveway. And there it happens because it is open. And my expectation is that we will have a lot of Bermuda grass going forward in different areas where we loosen up the soil in order to plant something and also have irrigation. So my hope is that the Bermuda grass is a major element of our ground cover. There's no rain and the water disappearing in the soil all around it, and only a little bit from the shower. This grey water pond is also going down. You can clearly see how the level has dropped. Let me zoom in a bit. So it was all the way up there to the pipe. It is moist there because there's some shade, but the level is definitely below now. The vetiver still has a little bit the autumn colors, like some people say. So this color means I'm cold. But green leaves are also coming up now that it's really hot. That's the temperature that this vetiver needs. So above 30 degrees centigrade. This here is the next step in our irrigation system for the farmyard. Right now we are installing 2 wobblers here. Not very tall, just so that they are slightly above the other plants, because this is not a Miyawaki forest where we have to do this until they are big and then take it out. The idea here is to irrigate all the time for something that we want to plant there where Angel is standing. So right now they are the first 2 and there will be more, but for today it's going to be the 2. And then we can turn it on, and in a moment you will see. So this is working out very good. The radius is really great. You might be able to see that the driveway here is also getting wet, which is okay, because eventually the part over there is going to be green. So the fact that I am now getting a few drops here, this is very good. So I show that from the other perspective. So all the way there to the green on the right, the water flies from the wobbler that is there. There will be 2 or 3 more, probably just 2 more, a system of 4. And the package that contains the controller made by Rainbird is on its way. It's about to be delivered. And once we have it, we can complete the installation and have this then also automated. Now the palovnia trees should recover a lot faster with additional moisture. So we just got the phone call that a different shipping company, one that used to come to this farmyard here with their delivery truck, so we might get lucky today, is about to deliver the cypress trees. We ordered 30 cypress trees that are already 2.3 meters high, and the white tarp here is where we want to put them, so that we can keep them moist while we now have to celebrate the weekend. And then on Monday we can start planting them. Of course, we have to prepare the site and all this. So while we wait for all these things to be achieved, well, we're not waiting, actually doing them. They will stay here, and then we have 30 cypress trees as a windbreak, because we decided not to plant any palovnia trees this year. Those over there, they suffered, and you can see that one that is still struggling, but it's making leaves, and we got the wobbler there also, so that it will definitely not die from thirst. So we had some cold wind, that's the story I wanted to tell you, and that cold wind together with low temperatures, we had freezing, frost at the beginning of May, after they already started to make leaves, and this killed all the leaves and almost the trees. The trees are still alive, they will come back, but I had to cut a few in certain places where the tree decided to abandon a branch. So I cut them away, and you see there in the background, they don't have leaves yet. They are trying, they are starting, and yeah, that's a little bit a pity. So we want to avoid that, and therefore we will plant the cypresses this year, and in a year from now, so by next May, we can then plant the palovnia trees. The site for that is over there, it's next to the pond, and then they should be a little bit more protected. Tomorrow the tractor guy supposedly will show up, so knock on wood that this will happen, and then we will have the Sunham and Friends seeded. We will install the wobblers there as well, and then use the summer to grow biomass and prepare the site. And later we will then cut the Sunham and Friends to have some ground cover. Maybe we throw out a few Bermuda grass seed, something like that. Or actually, that's something very interesting. Now I'm jumping ahead, but I can still tell you that. Hydro seeding. That seems to be something that we can manage with the things that we have, and we identified a supplier for everything that is required for that. So maybe in early spring we hydro seed Bermuda grass and then plant the palovnias. That would be an interesting thing. We'll see. But the cypresses that will soon show up, they are to make a windbreak. The truck is still a little bit away. I can see a movement, but before I could see it, the alarm system got activated and the dogs started to bark. They were hiding somewhere in the shade, but still they noticed. So they have a good idea that something down there is happening, and they wanted to make their presence known. So well done, doggies. And now they are somewhere there. You might be able to spot it, but it's far away for this camera. This is the place where the Ford is still sitting, the pickup truck, where the engine died on us. we need to remove it and get it fixed somehow. So this was an opportunity to get the pickup out of the way, and now he can pass without any trouble. It's the branches that would have made this a challenge, but this way he can go straight. And while I walked a few meters to the gate, they are behind me, I can show you a little bit how things look. And you will certainly notice that everything is now drying off and out. So now only heat-loving plants that also consume very little moisture are the ones that can exist, and they should now thrive. So those are things like vetiver, the palovnia trees, and also the Bermuda grass, and a few other plants that I'm not aware of that we have them, or we will establish them. It was a very nice opportunity to use the lock, and now comes the next trip. Because that way nobody will leave without any need and cause trouble. A good driver can do this. Yeah, cerca.
Sí, porque es que ahí no, eso va a quedar. Por lo menos que tú no pegues un lado que pueda. Eso lo voy a quitar ahora mismo, ya. Lo pongo ahí ya.
So, there we have 30 cypress trees. This is the Italian cypress, the one that is native to the Mediterranean and also to this area. And this is going to be our windbreak once planted. Right now we are giving them a little bit of water as a welcome present, but we put them in such a way that the wobbler should do this for us the next time around. We can say that summer has officially arrived. You can see we have 34 degrees out, and of course that is measured somewhere in the shade here. And let me show you the Miyawaki forest. So now our irrigation is pretty important. We finished irrigating this first sector here. It was at some 15% and it's now at 22%. And we are now irrigating the next one. And I think it looks pretty good. The Bermuda grass, as far as I can see, is taking up its role as ground cover. And all the other plants that were meant for ground cover, they are also growing. So that is very good. And some of the thyme, for example, is making flowers. So that's perfect. So this is getting well along. But it's so hot, I definitely want to go inside now.